I think I have to go quite large on the spoilers for this one. It's a book riddled with unexpected events and ideas that I can't really avoid. So, spoilers. Recursion 2019, Blake Crouch. This was my second ever Blake Crouch book. Along with Dark Matter, this was our community read-along for July. If it's in any way at all possible, I would prefer to avoid comparing this to Dark Matter for the bulk of the review. Maybe I'll put them side by side at the end and make some sort of comparison. So I just wanted to get my experience of expectations out of the way first. Having read Dark Matter immediately before Recursion and really enjoying that cinematic popcorn thriller flavour of science fiction of that book, I was all lubed up and ready to pounce. That's a bit weird. I wanted more popcorn. I think because this genre is so varied, science fiction readers are quite used to jumping between styles, expecting the unexpected. But these two books, two peas in a pod, I wasn't expecting Recursion to be a huge departure from Dark Matter, and it's not. It's more popcorn. I'm gonna talk about Dark Matter all the way through this review, aren't I? Hello, Moid of the Future here. Thank you for tuning into one of our archive videos, which was recorded many moons ago. Media Death Cult has evolved a lot over the years, so be sure to check out the more recent projects on the channel. You can support what we do here by grabbing yourself a t-shirt or a mug at the merch store, using Buy Me a Coffee, which is an online tipping service, or you can actually join the cult on Patreon and gain access to our exclusive Discord server, the best read-alongs in the galaxy, and the podcast, Radio Death Cult. Links to all that good stuff in the description of this video. Thank you so much. Peace! However, Recursion is more ambitious when it comes to characters. I think Blake Crouch understands the importance of tethering headfuck ideas to real people. Barry Sutton is a New York City detective. He's investigating something called false memory syndrome. More on that in a minute. Rather than just use a cop to explore the science fiction idea, Barry gets intertwined in the idea itself. It reminded me a little bit of Inception. I'm sure I said exactly the same thing in my Dark Matter review. I find them quite similar in that respect. The Leonardo DiCaprio character in Inception is emotionally invested in the heist, and Barry is not just an observer doing his job. His daughter died in a traffic incident a few years ago. He's now divorced. He drinks too much. He's very depressed. Just embrace that noir detective thriller thing. It's not exactly Chandler, but it's pretty good texture. Helena is our other main character. She's a neuroscientist trying to develop a cure for Alzheimer's. She's trying to save her mum who has the condition, and she's losing her functional brain, her memories, I suppose. It's so much more interesting having that motivation rather than just a bland scientist in a lab delivering us the hard science fiction. And jumping forward to much later in the book, there is an attempt to make this as much a love story between Barry and Helena as there is to writing another Save the Universe adventure. I think that's quite a risky move, because if you just don't care about that relationship and you're here for the clinical science fiction and you just want more plot and ideas, then it could be quite a frustrating read. For me personally, I think it worked really, really well for about 2/3 of the book. Even the backstory and the side characters had plenty of depth, and I was genuinely interested in how things were going to turn out for Barry and Helena. But once we got deeper into resetting the universe over and over again, playing with the passage of time, the collective consciousness of everybody's memories, and the idea of devoting eternity to one single person no matter what, and making love the focus of the conclusion of the whole book, meh, not so much. However, Recursion is more ambitious when it comes to the concept. For an easy to digest, arguably beginner's science fiction book, I think it has huge ambition and it really pushes the reader. When I talk about the concept in a book, I think I'm trying to describe two slightly different things. There's the actual fiction, the plot, the world that is different to our universe. And then there's the execution. How does that idea get into our brains? False memory syndrome. Now there's a thing. It's an inexplicable experience where you suddenly realise that what you thought was your real life was in fact just a memory, and now you're living in the real world. This is your real life. It's very Philip K. Dick, but it's quite different to Dick, where it's normally happening to just one person because, you know, there's something going on up here. This is happening to lots of people all around the world. Also, and yes, I admit I might fuck this bit up, the victims can describe events, people, places that they experienced in this memory, and then go and meet the different versions of people living in this real world reality, but they're slightly different. So one woman had a memory of a husband and kids, and she lived in a house that she'd never been to in this reality, I think. And she can actually go and meet that husband, and of course they've never met. He has no fucking idea who she is. I found this idea to be extremely interesting. I loved reading about it, but mainly because of the mystery. Is it some futuristic weird drug? Are aliens manipulating all of us? Some mass psychosis going on? Or is reality actually warped and this is just a byproduct? So my actual memory of the first act of Recursion is one of heightened anticipation, which did level off once we understood what was actually causing the memory thing. It's like Blake Crouch now had to blow my mind all over again for the rest of the book. And the idea does indeed get much bigger. Helena, our neuroscientist character, she invents some hand-wavy chair contraption machine thing that can it can take you back to a different point in your memories, or someone else's memories. When somebody uses the chair and travels back to a different point in their memories, the entire universe, so everybody else's memories go back as well, but they can still remember. They can still remember the other life, their original memories. So what? They've got two sets of memories? Hang on, wait a minute. I could just pause the recording, go on Wikipedia or Goodreads and double check to see how all of this slots together, but that wouldn't be a true reflection of what I think about this concept. I'm not trying to make a smart meta comment about memory itself. Once we get to that third act, a lot of the details are lost on me. I feel like Guy Pearce in Memento, staring at his tattoos in the mirror. My point is, I believe it's all there on the page, and I love the fact that Blake Crouch really goes for it. It's thought experiment science fiction crammed into a love story, but certainly by the time I got to the last 100 pages, I really struggled with the plot and the mechanism of what we were actually doing, and I couldn't tell you now where we ended up. Execution. I found this to be a rather disjointed reading experience. It's very easy to read, and for most of the book, big lumps of it, I enjoyed the in-the-moment action, the thriller, the stuff. but this is now the second Blake Crouch book, which begins to evaporate as soon as I finish reading. However, I think Recursion is more ambitious when it comes to the writing. I may have some reservations about retaining the details, but I actually think the mood and the prose is pretty impressive for this type of book, for this author. Oh, that's a backhanded compliment. I'm sorry, Blake. It's a combination of a few things that I've already mentioned. There's a darkness to the characters and a collective dread for the entire world. It's a different kind of apocalypse, maybe. It's now a very personal thing. You're in no immediate danger, but everything that you thought was real, that base comfort level, is now slightly out of reach, and that's terrifying. Reality as an antagonist is a very cool thing to read about. And just the actual language and the dialogue is a step up from Dark Matter. The way that we have two main characters and the chapters go back and forward between the two is really good for momentum. And I do like the way that the timelines do converge eventually into a new part of the book until it gets messy. Oddly enough, at the start and in the middle of this book, the world felt more real, more solid than it ever did in Dark Matter, which is weird considering this is a book about fragmented reality, metaphysical. Don't make me explain it again. Okay, side by side, they both have that cinematic style, equal parts thriller and science fiction novel, and I have a lot of time for that Michael Crichton aesthetic. It's great, fun storytelling. They both have a half-life of about 4 days. Maybe Recursion is slipping away a bit quicker because the ending is weaker and I got a little bit confused. Now that I come to think about it, maybe I'm overthinking this retention issue. I'm still going to highly recommend this book because I don't think everybody will have the same problem as what I did. It's just that for me personally, getting amazing ideas to stick to the inside of my brain is a completely different skill to writing it in the first place. Dark Matter is a better book. That's my knee-jerk reaction. But Recursion is better written with better characters and better world building. It's just that the heart goes wandering off somewhere. Dark Matter questions identity and love in a much more satisfying way eventually. A score for Recursion. 7 out of 10. There you go. That was the number that just fell out of my mouth. I gave Dark Matter an 8 and I didn't enjoy Recursion as much. A 7. This is a 7 out of 10 book for me. And I'm a little bit disappointed because for much of it, it felt like a 9. I thought it was great, but it ended up just sort of dropping off. I'm actually really excited to give Upgrade a read later in the year. That's his latest book. And anything else he writes within science fiction in the future, because somewhere in the Blake Crouch multiverse is a jackpot book waiting to get out. I mean a really good book. Did you love Recursion? There are so many people out there that this is the pinnacle of science fiction, of literature. This is a 10 out of 10 book for millions and millions of people around the world. I want to hear from you. Did you hate Recursion? There are some that just do not like Blake Crouch's style. It winds them up right from the beginning. And I think if you've read Dark Matter, you're probably not going to read this. But if you have read this and you hated it, I want to know from you as well. Or, like me, are you somewhere here in the middle? This one's all over the place. Whatever your opinion, let us know in the comments, please.
This is the final call.